Hey, alright, Ryan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Handmade. I just wanted to shoot a quick follow-up video to my canned food storage rotators. I'm making 3 more here. The video didn't go into a lot of detail, but I'm going to just point out really quickly that you can make most of the parts from half a sheet of plywood, and I'm using 3/4 inch birch plywood. The ramps that I used are from leftover 1/2 inch plywood. You could make those out of 1/8 inch, you can make them out of whatever you want. It just worked out for me. So I wanted to make each one of these out of half a sheet of plywood. I had 2 sheets of plywood for 4 total, plus I fixed the old one from the previous video so that it's still usable. Okay, so here it is. Here's my representation of a half a sheet of plywood. This measurement is just under 48 inches, and then the length at the widest point just under 46 inches, so you can make 2 of these out of a full sheet of plywood. My first cut is to rip the end off of the plywood. So you're going to keep it at 48 inches, but the first cut is 21 1/4, and I cut it just a little bit over at 21 1/2 and cleaned it up on the table saw. Later, I came back and I cut a center divider off of the end of that. So this becomes the bottom and back once it gets the 3 dados cut into it. Then my next cut was to rip the sheet of plywood down to about 25 inches, which gives you an overall measurement of about 46. So plenty of room to make 2 of these. And then I cut those down into 12 1/4. Then the rest of the cut is to make these boards 11 3/4 by 20 1/4. So it's definitely possible to get all of your back, bottom, and sides and dividers out of half a sheet of plywood. I'm about to cut all of my dados in my bottoms and back pieces before I separate them. And what's great about this design is that I have 3 dados. So the dados set from the outside measurement are both going to be 4 3/4 inches. So I can run my board through and then turn the board around and run the dado through the other side, and then I just have to make 1 more measurement to get it right in the middle. I've got my 3 new boxes set up and the correct dimensions, and I'm actually going to have to adjust this just a little bit, but if you do it correctly from the start, this is what you should end up with. The 2 sides have to be longer than the dividers to account for the back piece. That makes them 20 1/2 inches. So of course you're going to have to play with this a little bit depending on the thickness of your material. This is supposed to be 3/4 inch plywood, but of course it's never 3/4 inches thick. Just account for whatever material you get. That means the back piece is 12 1/4. So the only other piece is the dividers, which I'm going to have to fix, and they should be cut to 19 3/4 to account for the dados and the dado in the back. Angle that I've chosen is 7 degrees, and you saw me using my jig on the table saw to get this angle correctly. This measurement from the bottom of the board was 8 1/2 inches, and then I'll have to cut a piece in the back that makes this angle 7 degrees as well. I built and used this sled in the first video to cut the angles for my ramps, my lower ramps, and it just sits on the fence like this. And since I'm doing so many more ramps, I've added these hold down clamps. So it goes like this. And then I can run it through the blade to get this angle. Now I'm done with the ramp, and I remove my sled, keep the blade at the same angle, lower it down, and I'm running my 2x4s through to get, once I cut it in half, and this is going to sit at the back of the ramp to push the cans forward so they don't get stuck in the back corner. Besides the 3 dividers and 2 sides for each piece, you will need 4 of these ramps to slide into the dados. So these are 5 inches wide. And depending on where you stop your dados, these are just over 15 inches for the top ramp. Then you'll need 4 bottom ramps, and these need to be just under 4 3/4 to easily slide into here. And a bunch of these little stop blocks that are going to sit at the back of the ramp and hold that at a 7-degree angle. My pieces are 2 inches wide and just under 4.5 inches, so I don't have any problems fitting them back there. It doesn't matter, it's just holding up a board. And also these pieces, which I showed cutting on the table saw and then cutting in half with my table saw sled, this angle would be 97 degrees, the 90 inches of the back and side, plus the 7 inches of the ramp. So they fit in there perfectly. It prevents cans from getting stuck on the back wall. They have to roll out. So I hope that helps. I hope I've cleared things up a little bit and not made it more complicated. I'm going to try and have a cut list available from SketchUp as soon as I can figure out the plans and how to use that program. Check the description box and we'll see if we've got that up yet. Thank you again for coming and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and come back for more.